And we are back again on Trenchfoot. So, I didn't do anything that I described in the last two videos, basically. um, my plans changed drastically. I had originally planned on making this a lot of interior space. But the way it just kind of fell, I liked how it was open on the sides here. Obviously, detailing can lead towards different things, but I really like the shape of things right now. A lot of really cool kind of emergent things happened that I didn't fully expect when I was building this, and there's some really cool parts to this that I'm going to go over really quick. And I'm kind of getting hyped up for some map making again. It's been a while since I've gotten real excited about making maps for TF2, honestly. I'm sure you guys have noticed that things have slowed down quite a bit for me, and it's just, not really interest waning. It's just like creative energy being very drained. I've been working on other projects, been doing other things. But this was really fun. We tested it out, so here's some gameplay of it. I'll throw that in the background. And the test went really well. There was a little, there was obviously some issues with being such an experimental design, but everything worked out a lot better than I expected. Like, I was honestly going into this test expecting just a train wreck, and that's not what happened. It was actually pretty fun gameplay. I think we played for like an hour straight of this. We went to Shoreleave, and the Shoreleave testing was fun, and right after the test, there was this Reddit post made up by Aaron Times, something like that. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Where they just had like a ton of fun testing, and they like kind of renewed their vigor when it comes to community servers and custom maps. And it was really cool that my test did that, and it kind of gave me some warm fuzzies for it, and I was really appreciative of it. So I wanted to throw that out there. That was really cool to see, and I'm glad that my testing provided that to someone. And it was kind of like that itself sort of renewed my excitement for mapping. Seeing people have that kind of reaction, it was just a ton of people having fun and being excited about this thing I was making. And I got to, I was down in the thick of it. I was in the trenches of it, and it was really fun. So I'm pushing forward on this map. It's making a lot of good progress. So real quick, going over the layout, you'll see that I narrowed everything down to a few choke points. There's the side route that's always been there. It's like that big arcing trench route where a lot of people were heading before, and it was just a meat grinder in the middle of it. And I kind of feel like the layout now is pushing people away from it a little bit. I'm not sure if it was just how those games went, or if it was just something about the design was making them not do it as much. But I felt like there wasn't as much of a rush to the same spot, which was nice. So it got rid of that meat grinder, but it was still a useful route. And then obviously the point comes up to the middle. There's also this underground sort of swampy. This is the moist area that I described in the previous video, and I think it turned out really cool. I'm not necessarily 100% fond of how it comes up right next to the point still, but it gave people on the point a really interesting escape, and it gave people attacking the point a really interesting access way as well. And then on the far side over here, there's the angled doorways, and this room. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the map. It created a lot of really interesting dynamic. This last video, I was kind of contemplating making a staircase going down, coming out of here, but instead I made a drop down. And this drop down is the craziest thing I think I've made in a while, gameplay wise. Like, we had this heavy battle, the heavy that I was fighting a lot. I forget your name, I'm very sorry. It was a pretty good player though. They were kicking my ass quite a bit. And we were sort of fighting over that drop down, and we would capture the point. One team would capture the point, and then that drop down was like the game changer for the map, for that center point, because a heavy medic combo would just drop down from this drop down and just shred us to hell. And I started watching that drop down, and I had this moment in the gameplay where I was just watching it, and I finally looked away from it, and this heavy came down and just shredded me from behind. It was hilarious, but it was really cool gameplay, and that the doors on either side created this really interesting dynamic where you could hold the room, or you could hold behind the room, and then it was like risky to go forward into it, and it created this really cool point in the map, and I'm really excited about that. If anything is going to stay, it's going to probably be that part right there, because I feel like it's very different from any other King of the Hill map, and that's exciting. Different is good. Also, I really like the pipe detailing in this room. I don't know why, I just kind of went nuts with pipes, and I thought it looked cool. It creates this like, really interesting visual flow that directs your eye down if you're up in the top, or up if you're down below. And there's like this big column of pillars and drop down death and destruction, and it's just a cool area. I'm really geeked out about this area, as I'm sure you can tell. But let's talk about some of the problems that I saw. There were some pretty awkward sight lines, like this center route looking up to the point just felt really awkward to fight around. Snipers would stand way in the back and they were shooting you in the feet, and if you were up on the point you couldn't really see them that well. But I don't want to take away like the snipers' one good place to fight, because snipers, I kind of nerfed snipers hard in this version because so many sight lines got broken up, but they did need it. It was really bad for sniper before. But I still need to make sure they have some, you know, I need to throw snipers a bone somewhere in here, because I can't just nerf them to hell and be like, well, screw it, you suck. And the other, like, other class balance-wise, like engineers, apparently, they were having a ton of fun. I'm not a big engineer player. It's probably one of my weaknesses. I really should just start playing engineer more, but I just don't like it. I want to shoot people. I don't want things to shoot for me. But I saw a lot of mini sentries getting used on this, a lot of like full sentry guns. And I felt like they weren't too much of a pain to destroy, but the engineers had a lot of places to set them up and a lot of choices, so that was cool to see. It's a very chaotic map. I think that's one of the other things about this map. It's a weakness, is that it's very chaotic, and if you look at like the viaduct format, like the viaduct formula that I talk about, everything kind of comes into this hourglass shape, and there's that choke point right in the middle. You have to cross that choke point to get over. And with a map like, say, Lakeside, you have that route off to the side. That creates a lot of chaos around the point because there's no defined front line to the map. And this map plays that same way, but maybe even worse, because there's more routes around the point. There's the lower route, there's the side route, there's the upper route. So there's no defined front line to the map, which is ironic because it's a frontline themed map. So maybe that's something I want to look into. I could maybe narrow things down somewhere, but it's going to be really hard to do so. So maybe I don't need to. Maybe I can just be a really chaotic map. We'll test it out more. We'll see how it goes. It's very tight in a lot of places. I feel like I need to open up some doorways wider. There's a lot of narrow passageways and a lot of doorways and a lot of tight confined spaces. I was kind of going ham with Pyro for a little while. And you can really, really ambush people. Heavy, too. Like, Heavy was really good on this map because you had all these corners to jump around and to hide and just, you know, stay spun up. And medics could hide behind those corners and keep you healed. And there were so many angles and so many corners that there wasn't a lot of room for classes that need that mid-range, I guess. So it's something I'm going to look into. I'm going to open up some things. And also, there was a lot of combat in this stairway room, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just kind of because it's a middle point. Everything falls here when you're transitioning between the areas. Like, you've got a lot of connectors that go into this area. If you're in the upper route, you can go down. If you're in the middle route, it connects off to the side. If you're in the far right route, it jumps right into there. And then when you're coming from spawn, it's kind of like that central path right there. I don't know if that's a bad thing yet, so it's something I'm going to keep an eye on. If I feel like there's too much combat in there, maybe I need to look at how the routes are flowing to the sides. Maybe it's everything's narrowing you down into the middle too much, and I need something to break that up. This map was rushed for a 72-hour jam, so there's a lot of questionable decisions being made in the gameplay and the stuff that I haven't adjusted since then. So I have a lot of stuff to look into, and I'm pretty excited, and I'm going to keep going with it. We're going to do some more testing. If you want to get in on these tests, join my Steam group. It's in the description below, or follow me on Twitter. I usually post on Twitter first, and I'll wait a few minutes, and then I'll go post on my Steam group, so that people who I interact with often on Twitter kind of get first crack at it. And the Steam group announcement goes out to everybody. So either one of those, you're going to get an announcement. It filled up pretty fast this last time, so join quick. That's kind of cool that I can do that. That's something I greatly appreciate as a mapper. A lot of people have to wait for TF2 maps tests. Like, it's great that we have the TF2 map testing. They're doing, like, daily tests. If you are a mapper and you want to get your maps test, go to TF2 maps and just throw it into the bot. It'll get ran and it'll get feedback, and there's a whole cool feedback plugin that works with it. But I'm fortunate enough that I have you guys watching, and you guys are interested in my stuff, and you're following my Steam group, and you're following me on Twitter and all these kind of things. and I can just shoot out an invite, you know, say, hey, come test this with me, and you guys are right there, and it's freaking amazing. That's a crazy invaluable resource, and I greatly appreciate it. So, that said, if you want to get on some of those, do the things that I said, and we're going to keep working on this map together, because I need that feedback. I need you guys playing it and telling me, you know, what you like, what you don't like, and even if you're not giving me feedback, I can watch how you're playing and how you're interacting and the routes you take and the routes you don't take and the classes you play and the classes everyone's playing overall. If everybody's going scout, then, you know, there's issues. So that's exciting, and I don't know how to end this video, so I'm just gonna do it right there. Bye.